how do you take abundant systems and use those to create abundant products? Welcome back to the Idea Supply Chain, where we take a look at where ideas come from and what makes those ideas valuable. Today, I wanted to share some thoughts I had about building abundant products. So, if you've seen my earlier videos where I talk about abundant systems and how we really want to build out systems in a different way, especially when it comes to AI powered products, I wanted to tell you how I was putting this into practice in the products I've been building. So, over the last month or so, I've been working with a partner on a product called Score My Deck, which allows founders to have a pitch deck analyzed and get VC feedback on their deck without actually talking to VCs. And there are a number of ways that this could go badly if I didn't think about it in terms of abundant systems. For example, after the founder gets their deck analyzed, they can also find investors that might match, and they can write cold emails for these investors. Now, I wanted to make sure that I didn't do what a lot of AI products are doing and say, okay, well, what we want to do is we want to maximize the number of times this product gets used. And so I'm going to give access to all the investors in the database. They're going to generate cold outreach emails for every single investor, and then they're going to send those out. And the reason I didn't do it this way is because that's a really bad system. Most of the investors are not going to be a good match. And so there's a very, very low chance of success for 99% of the investors. So that actually takes away from the founders that are doing things the right way, trying to really be careful with the investors that they reach out to, being very focused on finding the right partner. And that's the type of founder that I want to reward. And that's really what Abundant Systems is all about. It's rewarding good behaviors and not allowing these kind of negative sum behaviors really come into play. Because if you've got 100 founders and they're all sending out 1,000 emails, to 1,000 different investors, you're just creating noise in the system. And I don't want to do that. I want to use AI to reduce the noise in the system, not dramatically increase it. And so the way we've structured this is that after your deck gets analyzed, you can get back a handful of investors at a time, and then you can write outreach emails that are very, very specific. They are formatted in a way that investors will appreciate and limited to 100 words. It basically just says, hey, here's the company. Here's what they do in a nutshell. Here's how much they're raising. Here's the metrics that are, that look best for the founder, right? Either, hey, they've got this much traction. Here's the team they've put together. Something like that. Something that investors will key in on as a positive signal. And most importantly, again, they're limited to about 100 character or 100 words in length. When you're trying to find an investor as a founder, it's all about getting that next part of the relationship built up. When it's cold outreach, you've got to build that relationship. One of the best ways to do that is actually show that you do care about the VC's time and, try to limit that. And this is something that's really hard for me. If you've ever read my writing, you know that I tend to be quite verbose. If you listen to me on these YouTube videos, again, I tend to be pretty verbose. I like a lot of words, and I'm not always great at compressing those ideas down into do this, need this much, here's why you should care. I'm bad at that, which is why I made sure that the tool was good at it. And so in doing this, I can really think about how to, create these abundant systems that benefit everybody in the ecosystem, not just the person I'm selling to. And this is doubly important when you realize that I'm actually working on kind of creating a marketplace of these and I'll be selling to kind of the other side of the market as well. And so, kind of the founder version was the first version, but then the other side of that is actually a version for VCs where, hey, you can analyze these decks, you can filter out the noise. Because again, I'm a big believer in like limiting the noise in the system so that you can maximize your time spent on understanding the signal. It's very easy to filter out decks that don't match a thesis, that, don't match what the investor is looking for at all. Founders typically don't care about like that for the VC because they're in a crunch. They're trying to raise money. It's a brutal environment. It's very, very painful. And so again, that's why I really want to stop the bleeding on both sides, if you will. So I want to give founders a way to make sure that their pitch decks are as good as they can be. I'm not doing the work for them. The tool isn't doing the work for them. The tool is helping them understand what work should be done, what investors are going to think of, the the deck, the product, the team. It's giving founders a lens that they can use to kind of view their pitch deck. But then it's also understanding the other side of it. How do I help investors really deploy their resources in the most efficient way possible, in the most effective way possible? You help them filter out the noise so that they can spend time on the companies that are potentially the best fits for them. And, I've gotten a lot of really good feedback from both sides so far. Founders are really resonating with it. They really like the tool. I've gotten really positive feedback on how it's helped them. And these are some founders who have raised money before. They've talked to a lot of investors for their companies. They've gotten feedback. And they're like, the feedback I've gotten from your tool is better than the feedback I've gotten from the investors I've talked to. And so that's a key point. But then it's also the VC side, understanding their side of things too. And so with abundant systems, you want to understand the overall system, and all of the players and what they're all looking for, because that allows you to build better products for one side or both sides. It's a matter of not focusing on the benefits of the company or the tech you use. And in fact, I've tried really hard to not mention the use of AI in any of the marketing, because that's not what it's about. That's the technology that's used. But the ultimate thing is we help investors filter out the noise so they can focus on the companies and products that they are most interested in. And we help founders view their pitch deck from the lens of an investor without having to know investors, without actually having to send the deck out. You can get all of this feedback in less than 2 minutes. And right now, I think it's even running like sub 1 minute. It's pretty daggone quick now. And that's a huge benefit for a founder who is completely new to the ecosystem, who doesn't know what it takes to raise money. And I've been there. And you know what? There's a lot to figure out. There's a lot to learn about how investors think about companies, about how outreach works, how relationship building works. I made a mess of it my first go around. I was terrible. And so I've spent a lot of time studying the overall ecosystem, understanding how everything works. And now I'm taking that understanding and putting it into the products. And this is something that I think gets missed. There's a lot of focus on just pushing things out, pushing things out, pushing things out, doing things as fast as you can and like as big as you can and as wide as you can. And I think we need to get away from that, honestly. I think there's a lot of benefit in slowing down, really working on that understanding, because in the age of AI, like there's a lot of things I can do. And so it's really a matter of what should I do? And frankly, I'm more careful than a lot of people, and that is sometimes problematic. It's harder to get the attention, the use, because it's not as flashy. But in the end, when I have products that launch and go out to people, they do so in a way that really resonates with the users. And so, got to have patience and just have faith in the process, because, I've seen that it's working. I'm, again, being deliberate in the features I add, the way I do the pricing, like everything that I think about. I think about how I can use the product to filter the noise and make it beneficial for everybody who's going to be interacting with either it or some product produced by it, some artifact produced by it, right? So if I've got a deck and that deck is going to be going to investors, I want the founder to have the best possible deck that they can. I want them to send them to the highest, the best match investors that I can, because then that makes the overall ecosystem better. And that's what abundant systems are all about. It's about making everything better and not flooding something with noise just because you can, because it's a better business metric to track. So anyway, hope that's helpful. Thought it would be interesting to just kind of share what I'm doing from a product standpoint, how I'm thinking about product development in this age of AI. And yeah, so take that, go out with it, build helpful products, build products in which you understand the overall ecosystem. Don't do things that are bad for some of the participants, because you really want to make sure that you're maximizing the value for everybody in the ecosystem as much as possible. And that's how you're really going to find some long-term success. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.